Why is YouTube so stupid? I literally just had it all set up and then it's like, no, let me try and be helpful. No, you're not helpful, YouTube. Stop trying to do things that I didn't ask you to do, dummy.
Well, maybe it's trying to give you something you didn't know you wanted.
I don't need that. I have that way too often in my life already. I don't need YouTube trying to be helpful. I have people telling me what they think I should be doing with my life. And I say, you may shut up.
All together.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back. I'm Achara Cook, joined by Kristen Stephenson Pino.
Hello, hello.
I found this video on TRS clips, and I hope that it's all in English. Obviously, I can't watch the whole thing and find out, but it sounded like it was in English. And I thought this would be good to do with you, because I know you've got some thoughts about relationships and marriage and all of that. So this is with Deepika Bhardwaj, and it's called Before Marrying Someone, Ask Them These Questions.
All right.
So we will find out whether, these are some worthy questions to be asking a future boo to find out, whether or not you're compatible and you should marry them. So
let's see.
I need to know this. Time's a ticking. It's a running out, you guys. I may just be a single person forever.
You and I both. You and I both, Achara.
Sad times.
We just, if worse comes to worse, we'll just be in a little old folks home together. I'm like,
actually,
Achara, how are you?
That sounds like so much fun.
We'll just keep doing these videos about all the new young people.
Yeah,
like
geriatric
back
reactions.
in our day. Remember when we thought that.
Anyway, this, you guys, this is from TRS Clips. Make sure that you subscribe to them, subscribe here, click the bell icon, all notifications, and upvote this video. Let's find out. Spill the tea, sis.
Subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified
Do that here.
about the highlights of India's smartest podcast, The Ranveer Show. This is TRS Clips. When I look at a problem, maybe it's the engineer in me. I try going actually to the source of the problem.
No,
the
it's
source
just
of
because
the
you're a
problem
man.
is choosing wrong partners.
Oh.
And the source of that problem is not being emotionally aware as a man and not being able to read situations, read early red flags, read early signs. And that's actually what I'd want to tackle. The only reason I feel like I'm slightly more emotionally aware than my male counterparts is because of this podcast and because of speaking to evolved women like yourself.
Huh. Okay.
The deeper you go, first of all, honestly, I feel women's minds are much more complex than male minds. And this I'm saying as a podcaster. In a good way.
In a good way. He looks nervous about his hand.
I agree, totally agree with that.
There's many more layers of thought. Guys are like very functional.
Yes.
Like in term. And the thing is, even because of the kind of job you do, creating these documentaries, interacting with people who are a part of this whole situation, I'm sure you've learned a lot about men. You've learned a lot about women.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the source of the problem, which is emotional awareness for guys. We've made videos, on our Hindi channel, especially about how to choose the right girl for yourself. Mm-hmm. And videos like that blow up because we package it like what guys look for in girls. It's very like bubblegum. But the underlying purpose behind those videos was situations like this that, listen, bro, become emotionally aware.
Listen, bro.
So that you don't have to go through a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Again, 498A and situations like this are a peak version of like a bad relationship, but there are lesser layers. Like I've been with people who weren't the right partners for me. Mm-hmm. I've had like a tiny amount of like when I was much younger, there was someone who used to like physically hit me as well. And that time I didn't even know that these kind of situations exist. And a little bit after that, I've been with people who were the wrong partners, who were probably cheating on me throughout, didn't know, got to know later.
I feel that was actually very important what he said about the physical abuse, because I feel like a lot of the time we're not as aware that physical abuse can also happen to men. I feel like a lot of the time
it's the other way around.
It's the other way around. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe that he hit you.
Yeah.
That's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But conversely, it can happen to guys as well. And I would imagine that there's like a certain level of shame maybe surrounding that as well. It's like, oh yeah, like a girl hit me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't really want to talk about it or whatever. But like, that's definitely a toxic relationship. And like, a major red flag, double red flags
up there, leave.
Just saying. Just wanted to point that out.
But let's talk about emotional awareness. And that's where I feel conversations like this can help men out there to just become slightly more emotionally aware.
रणवीर, मुझे लगता है सबसे बड़ी चीज जो और सबसे बड़ा फैक्ट आज के टाइम्स का है वो ये है कि a lot of young men and boys
Thank you.
are still living in that ancient idea of how a woman or a girl is, while women have progressed a lot emotionally, financially, in practical aspects. They know what they want. Right? A lot of women are very, very aware of what they want right now, especially from a man, especially from a relationship, right? But men are still, I completely agree with you. They're very practical, very focused, problem, solution,
Yeah, it's just how their brains
emotional
work.
Aspects, they think very less. And again, going back to the same point, the idea is all women are good, so they do not even want to see red flags. Like I have dealt with men who had so many red flags after the engagement or just when they met the girl, but they did not. They just believed whatever she said after that to, hide whatever her lies or, whatever
Goes both ways.
truth came out
Yeah.
in front of the man.
Well, I think also what she's not talking about is potentially like the family, especially when you're talking about like people being engaged or whatever. Like maybe
The family dynamic. and,
yeah, like maybe your family is trying to pressure you into being married to someone, starting a family or something like that. It's like, why aren't you married yet? And so you feel a certain amount of pressure to just be like, okay. I can ignore these things which feel off, which feel like red flags because I
But
should
sometimes
do
I
this.
feel like even when you get advice from your family, sometimes it's like, or friends or whatever, it can be wrong as well because it's, at the end of the day, this is how I see it. They are not the ones in the relationship.
Yeah.
It is you and them. You and whoever
The other
you're
person,
with. Yes.
yeah.
And so a lot of the times, like, you can actually taint a relationship by involving other people from the outside world. And it can actually do more damage than good. And because they can only, like, here's the thing. Sometimes when we're talking, there's issues, right? You're only focused on the negatives.
Right.
And a lot of the times we forget about all the good. But because all we're doing is nagging about the bad, that's all they see. Right.
Yeah.
So now they'll have a perception of this person that isn't the full story.
Sure.
Especially because there's always a cause and effect, right? Like so it's like that domino effect. If I do something or a guy does something, there's something that had happened to escalate things. And a lot of the times people don't know how to own up to their own wrongs.
Right.
Therefore, they start to miss the bigger picture or the full story. Now, I feel like with her, what she's saying right now, I think it goes both ways, and I'm interested to see where she's going with this.
All right, let's see.
Man still went ahead and got into the marriage and then, suffered later. So something that I really want to tell all men out there, especially the young boys, see, a lot of men say, has marriage lost its purpose? Men, what is left for men in marriage, especially with such biased laws and such skewed perspectives, particularly legally. And if you unfortunately get caught into the legal system, then there's endless suffering, especially
Prenup.
for a man. What I really want to
Save
tell
a
all the
man
men
and a
out there,
woman.
there's no formula that you would be protected from such allegations or you will not go through that. There's no formula, let me be very honest. There's no formula for a woman. There's no formula for a man. ऐसा कोई formula नहीं है where you can tick mark 5-6 things and you ensure that your marriage is going to work or you're not going to get into legal soup. There's no formula. But what's very important, and this is not just for men, this is for women as well. You have evolved as human beings. You have evolved in genders. You have evolved in your roles. You have evolved in what you want from life, your aspirations, goals, and everything. Be very clear about that before marriage.
That's very important.
Especially men.
Yeah.
Have conversations with your partner.
Have conversation, very, very focused conversations with your partner. Does she want to live with your parents after the marriage? Yes, no. Do you want her to live with your parents after the marriage? Yes, no. Are you okay if she's going to leave her job to take care of the kid for 1 or 2 years? Yes or no? Do you think she's going to move along with you if you get transferred to another city and, probably take a move in her job, even if she's doing really well in her job? Yes or no? Does she expect you to move with her where if her job is really great, does she expect you to, financially support her parents? That is also happening these days, right? The women would have expectations that you support my sister's education, you support my brother's education. All of these things are happening, they just don't come out, right?
Yeah.
Then there are a lot of families right now where there would be only daughter. And naturally, she would have a lot of, concern for her parents, right? But then eventually the system is that she's moved in with her husband and his family, but then she would want to take care of them as well. Now, there is nothing wrong in that, but then there has to be a balance drawn somewhere. What if that balance goes wrong? So the point I'm trying to make is whatever the realities of your life are, you as a man and she as a woman, and again, repeating, this is not just for men, for women as well. Please make it clear before marriage.
Yeah.
I think that's like a solid point because I'm going to throw this out there too. When dating, most people are dating just to date. If you're going to date, you have to have intentions. And if you, without the intention of marriage, why are you dating in the first place?
Good
so
point.
When you sit there, like this is a question I always ask if I'm going on a date with somebody, or even before I like go on that date, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to waste my time. I ask them, what are your intentions? What are you looking for? Exactly. Are you looking just for like a fling? Are you looking just to become friends? Are you looking for like a booty call? Are you looking, what are your intentions? Right? And a lot of the times they'll tell you straight up, well, I don't really know right now. Okay, goodbye. You know what I mean? Goodbye. Because for me, I'm at the point where I'm like, my intentions are for the long haul. I'm looking for a husband. I'm looking for somebody who can grow old with, but also somebody I can create a family with. Now, if I sit there and we have that talk, okay, we got the intentions right off the gate, right? Then from there, I want to know, like, these are just my personal, I want to say, okay, well, what's your religious background?
Right.
Because my political views and stuff like that and my religious views on life, I do want them to add up. You know what I mean? And
you
I
want
do
someone who's like on the same page as you.
I want to be on the same page. I want to be, because now that plays into, okay, if I do have children with you, are you going to allow them to come to church with me? Are you going to sit there and degrade that? Or are you going to, you know what I mean? Are you going to fight me on this? I would want somebody not to be the complete opposite of me. I think it's okay if there's room for growing to go with each other, where you're like, well, I'm open-minded to, learning about it. And then also, if I was to have a child with you, then I would be like, yes, you do your thing, and at a certain age, that's all you can do. At 18, it's like you do your thing, you believe what you need to believe. But I would want to install upon them like what I've grew up with and my belief system, you know what I mean? But I would want somebody to support me.
Yeah, I think it is really crucial what she's saying is like, first of all, to just be really clear about what you want, which is what you're saying. And then having that conversation with your partner and being like, are we on the same page? Are we on the same track? Because if we're not, why are we bothering to do that?
I strongly do agree with this strong conversation. And I feel like a lot of people are afraid to have it because
I'm not gonna lie.
They want to be desirable.
I'm not gonna lie, I struggle with that, but I think that's also coming from a sense of not really knowing what you want, first of all. So I think that's why it's super important to just get really clear and specific about what it is that you want, so that you can have that conversation. And I love that you're just like, you know what, if you're not even looking for marriage right now, if you're not looking for a future, I don't even want to waste my time going on a date with you.
I mean, once upon a time, I would have been like, okay, well, I don't know what I want. I was like, let's just have fun.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point where it's like, it's funny how you, like she said, you start to evolve.
Yeah.
And how you start to grow. And like I said, for me, I'm like, I asked this question straight up. And I'm like, if you're not looking for marriage, I'm not even going to waste my time.
So everybody who wants a marriage with Kristen, slide into her DMs right now, because she is actively looking.
I am actually on the market, ready to go.
It is so much of suffering. It is so much of suffering.
It is suffering. What she's saying is so real. Because imagine you really fall for this person.
Yeah.
And now you're in that dilemma of like, well, I don't want that.
I don't want kids.
And then you're like, oh, my heart. And you want it so bad and you try to force it. It sucks.
It's true.
All right,
Yeah.
Fight like enemies and then ruin your
Facts.
life in court. That it's just not worth it. Especially for men, बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है, I would say, because like I said, women have evolved a lot. And it's not just metropolitan cities that I'm talking about. छोटे शहरों में भी. They know what they want.
Yeah.
And if they don't get what they want, Ranveer, that's where problems happen.
Yep.
So I was just talking to a guy yesterday from Ghaziabad. His wife has filed all kind of cases on him. And
Wow.
he said, ma'am, you have given me a lot of inspiration. I'm fighting back. But, things move so slowly and things like that we were talking. And so what is the problem? And he said, she and her family is just so dominating. They want me to live the life on the rules that they have, defined for me. And I'm not able to do that. She did not want to live with my parents. My parents said, okay, tum aaram se, you both stay together. But still, like her parents would interfere so much that it started creating so many problems. And then she preferred to...
It's like,
then
who's in
move
the
with her parents
relationship?
and then-
This is very interesting because I do feel like women over the years, because they're evolving and they're becoming more dominant than ever before. And it's due to the fact that they have to put on that masculine energy because I feel like there's this weird thing in the world right now where, the roles are being swapped. And then I feel like some women don't know how to turn it off. And that comes from a place of, okay, well, I want to be secure. I want this so badly.
Right.
And I don't trust due to the fact that something may have happened down the line. And I feel like a lot of men start to coward out or back down instead of showing that dominant side and say, hey, look, I love you. Talk to me. Like, but I'm not going to, the versus like them like cowering down, because I think a lot of men, like when women do get upset, we are more dominant and we're scary. You know what I mean? We can be.
We can be.
I mean, it goes both ways.
Upset,
but I do feel like sometimes in today's society, I do see this happening. I have seen it.
That's like a whole...
It's a whole nother thing in itself.
Big conversation. I mean, what I will say is like definitely in this day and age, with women being more educated, having like really good jobs now, often when a woman is looking for a man as a partner, it's like, okay, well, I can take care of myself.
Yep. And it's almost like, I don't need you. So, and
yeah, but then it's like kind of going, okay, well, if you want to be my partner, what are you offering? But I did see something interesting today as well, which gave me pause for thought, which is like, just kind of the dynamics between men and women that we know. Sometimes it's just really helpful, even if you are a woman who's like, I can take care of myself financially, emotionally, everything. Like I can provide for myself. But when you're with a guy, sometimes it's just nice to let them feel like they can take care of you. Like, hey, would you build my furniture for me? Hey, thank you for opening the door for me. Or
but
like,
it also becomes a place, I feel like a lot of women, because I'm guilty of this. I can be guilty of being like, I won't allow the person to do something just because I've been taken for a ride. And so my guard's up. But if a man allows me to bring my feminine nature like to the table, and he allows me to feel safe, and he allows me to see he is in charge and he's a leader,
game over.
I will follow. But if the moment you show me you're not a leader and you're wishy-washy or you come off weak, I struggle with that because I want to not be so masculine.
Like you don't want to.
I don't want to have to always wear the pants or be so dominant. It's just that's a survival mechanism that I've acquired over the years in my other relationships. Like
a lot of women can probably relate.
And it's interesting too because I read this article recently that the majority of women in the world are homeowners in today's world. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Why is that? You know what I mean? It's interesting. Just a food for thought. Like I'm just throwing it out there. Like it's cool, but it's kind of sad. I always want to see something like more on like equal grounds. That's just me. I don't care for like this. Because I feel it's sad because it just kind of goes to show that a lot of women are starting to they're so independent that it's at the point where they're like, you know what, it's good. We're good. And it's like, oh, that's such a bummer because men are really great. They can be fabulous and wonderful. And it's just, and I just see that being kind of sad that we're losing touch in that connection that we were meant to have in the world.
I mean, like, we could definitely stand to have a bit more balance.
That's all I'm saying. That's why I'm like, oh, that's kind of sad. It's empowering for a woman, but it's also kind of like, and they're just, one household, like women, like they're not even with a partner. Well, and I thought that was kind of like, I was like, man, that's an interesting one, because we are meant to be with each other, and we're supposed to have connections.
We're supposed to have connection.
And sure. I was kind of sad that I'm like, that's kind of sad to think that we might be losing that a bit,
And she's put all of these false cases on me.
Dang.
And you have no answer to them but to say that you fight back. So it's very important for men. See, people can say all of these things, ki sexist hai, ye hai, wo hai, if the man is expecting her to, be with the in-laws, or the man chooses that I'm going to be with my parents. I'm the only son. I want to be with my parents. I want to support them in their old age. And the woman may not be okay with that. She would want to have an independent life. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with this. Mm-hmm. But you need to have a common understanding on whatever you want from your life when you are together as a couple.
Yeah.
It's very important to discuss all of that.
Yeah. You've said some very important things.
Yeah.
I want to highlight the fact that it is important, if possible, date people when you're younger.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This teaches you so much about yourself
whole other
and
conversation.
what you need from relationships, and everybody's different.
Absolutely.
In saying that, you had something that you just said about the fact that we can't point out exact rules in terms of how do you choose a partner for yourself. Mm-hmm. You also said one more interesting thing, that men think less about emotional things, because men are very functional. They're either thinking about sports, their friends, business, career, cars, music, these kind of things, and everything is very functional. After speaking to a lot of women, I've realized more women on an average think about love, think about relationships, think about marriage,
maybe
poetry,
too much.
art, things like that. I feel that when you actually sit alone and go into deep thought or write what you're thinking, you're able to dive into your own brain. And that's what more men need to do. Yep. They need to kind of definitely have those career conversations, even write about those, think about those. That helps. Being your analytical self helps in your career. But apply a little bit of that analysis to your emotional side.
Absolutely.
How are you feeling right now? How is being single making you feel? How's your last breakup making you feel? How do you feel about your parents? How do you feel about your future wife? Have you not met anyone? What do you want from that person? And this will only happen when men begin to talk to the women nearest to them, their moms, their sisters, about topics other than their career or surface level shit. You need to go to 3 layers deep. Absolutely. That's how you become more emotionally aware as a man.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Bruh.
That was it.
One more. I was getting ready to get deep inside.
There's like that's just like a little clip from the whole podcast. But I mean, I think it is really interesting, and like there definitely is some sort of conversation to be had about how just the landscape of men and women is changing regarding like traditional roles are changing, and therefore relationships are changing. And like you said, we are seeing these changes where there are a lot more single women or single people who are like, you know what, like I don't need this, because in the past a lot of the time a marriage wasn't just for love, it was also for financial, for
stability.
Like
it was
it was all of those things, whereas nowadays it's like, you could get married to someone and get some tax breaks if you have children, or even just to get the tax break, the married tax break. But
in some countries you get paid more money too. To be married.
Exactly.
Like in Germany.
Yeah, there's all of those things, but
I think he made a great point too. There's a difference between finding a relationship when you're younger and finding one as you get older.
Oh yeah.
And because I feel like when you're younger, it's more pure and everything, and you have more of an opportunity to grow together. You know what I mean? And when you meet, it's different. The moment you get older, the more hurts you have.
Sure, yeah.
So then we're like, when you're younger, it's not, and it's just, it seems more pure to me.
But I think also what he's saying is like, you kind of want to get your dating done.
So you figure out what you want to.
Yeah.
But there's something, but also, the older you get though, it does make it harder, because you start seeing people who are, I don't want to say damaged goods, okay? But we're going to say it. No, like you have people and they're just like, oh, this and that, and they can't get over certain things.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And I find that to be sometimes interesting, but it's like, okay, there's things that I struggle with as well. But I feel like that's something that most people don't want to look at within themselves in order to fix or mend it.
Right.
And
And what he's talking about of like, you know, being really introspective and like maybe taking the time to like journal it
think
out.
about these
or
things
think about
and
those
actually,
things.
go deep with it.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. And I think that it's interesting because a lot of women, after a breakup, they feel it right there and then. And they get it out of the way, where men actually, it takes them sometimes a few years.
Yeah.
And then it hits them all of a sudden 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And then they're like, oh my God, you know, and they have this epiphany and breakdown or whatever.
Or they're like, I want you back. And
exactly.
It's like, it's too
and
late, dude, moved on.
Yeah. And I think that's due to the fact that a lot of men, they just cover it up, or they're like, I'm not even going to deal with this. I'm going to throw it to the side.
Sure.
Because it's not worth my time right now, whatever. And they go about their day. And then later it hits them because it will always
taken time.
It will always resurface, where a woman, you know, we're always like, and we're like, think. Okay, let me get it out of my system.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe, and you know, you cry, you get there, and then you're like, I'm solid.
I'm done. If this guy calls me, he's blocked.
Yep. And then they get to the point where they're just, it hits them later on, where if a man would actually sit down instead of like trying to cope, like just
cover it up
and be easy about it and be like, it doesn't matter, and actually took the time to allow it to sit. And I feel like a lot of things would be different for a man too, in the sense of like when they come and approach you, or before, instead of like losing somebody, you know what I mean, they might have that more of an opportunity to like fix things,
So yeah.
and or to try to make things less damaging, or maybe down the road they won't be as hurt and damaged. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, I think what they were talking about in this little clip from the podcast was very important, very crucial. Is just to have those conversations before you decide to
Bring it back, Achara. That's right. Bring it back.
To go into something like marriage. This is what I'm here for.
Yes.
But yeah, you know, it's so important before making that decision, because then. And being honest about it. Because I think sometimes, you know, maybe you want to appease the other person or please them, and then you're not being honest because you're like, I really want to get married to this person. But
it's also, I feel like when you're younger too, it's for some reason, like it's a little harder to do that, but you also don't know.
Exactly. So
you don't know.
Take the time to know.
Take the time to like just think about it. Think about a future, because like you can find somebody and you're like on the same page of like, yo, I'm just here to hang.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. You guys do your thing. Now, but if you're really wanting something more,
then
don't waste your time.
You need to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Because like if this person isn't right for you, you're bound to find someone who is, hopefully. Someone
and
who wants
sometimes
to
when
say
you have
things.
those conversations, there's something that's appealing about the other person. When you start to dive deep into what you want out of life, there's something about it that you do end up creating a connection that's different than if you were to just hang out and, you know,
absolutely.
do the fluff.
Yeah. Let's get.
I like this.
Let's get deep.
I thought this was it's
insightful.
Good.
I think Ranbir does a really great job at being a podcast host, because he asks good questions.
Yeah,
and
he did.
He allows the guest to speak, and then he can help to kind of go deeper and expound on whatever it is that they're talking about. So, like, kudos to him for being such a fantastic host and picking really interesting people to talk to. Anyway, you guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm sure there's some hot takes, some juicy tidbits going on in the comments right now. I can't wait to read them. Be kind, people. This is a safe space, hopefully. Anyway, love you all.
Not always, but you know.
Yeah. Hope you guys find the one. And until then, you know, take care of yourself, love yourself, find out the answers to those questions. And love yourself first. That's all I'm going to say.
Love yourself first.
It's what my mom always said.
Well, you should. Because if you can't love yourself and who you are,
how the hell are you going to love somebody else?
No, really.
Yeah.
Really. If you can't take care of yourself, what makes you think you could take care of somebody else?
Exactly.
Like if you, in the moment you do, then you're like, I got this.
Exactly.
Oh, you're fine. That's okay. I got both of us.
It's
nice.
important.
It is.
So anyway, you guys, hope you enjoyed that. I'm Achara Kirk. This is
Kristen Sevespino waiting to put a ring on it.
guys, just propose in the DMs.
See you later.
To her, not me. Okay, bye.
Bye. You said not me.
Yeah, I said not me. I'm good, thank you.